So when I originally sat down today, I had not had in mind what I'm going to talk about. Just had the regular weekly topics, the little ideas, the little life insights, daily reflections, that kind of stuff. And then we had two events at work today. We had a morning meeting and then not really a meeting. We had a morning event and then an evening event for seminar staff. And it was memorial, remembrance, celebration of life for a colleague of ours who we lost recently. And I wasn't really going to talk about this much. And I had mentioned it briefly last week or a week and a half ago on a Love and Loss podcast. I didn't really give a lot of details at the time. I really was just trying to point out how, in its very unique way, life can roll out to you these just really wonderful, exuberant high highs. And it can, in the next beat, roll out to you these really just tragic low lows. And, this was an example of that in my mind. And after today's, and at the time I didn't share out a lot of details because it wasn't really widely known. These weren't my details to share, I felt like. I think in a lot of ways I feel like they're still not. But as I was listening to someone talk about this today, one of the things that was mentioned is that a lot of us have the reaction to not talk about it for whatever reason. And a lot of us probably feel like, depending on how close you are with a person that you lose, maybe I'm not qualified to talk about it. It's that people much closer to family members, people who get to interact with this, the person who's lost more often every single day, are far more qualified to talk about it. But I think in this instance, the advice that was shared is that this is one of those things that it needs talking about because for a lot of reasons, and so these two memorials today were to just celebrate, pay respect to the life and loss of McCoy Turner. So if you're close to the CrossFit training space, been in the CrossFit training space, McCoy Turner took his own life, suicide on March 8th. So I don't know, a week and a half ago, and after returning back home to Bali, following a long-term battle with complex PTSD, and as I once listened to McCoy talk about this on a podcast, that initially, so McCoy and I first met back in 2014 at his seminar staff internship, and McCoy would go on to lead a long career on seminar staff, coaching, as a coaching mentor, affiliate owner, coach. He coached over, I think, 250 level 1, level 2 seminars all over Europe, Asia, UK. Recently, I believe last year, stepped into the Flow Master role, which is like the head position in the seminars, coaching mentor, put out tons of coaching content, and really just, it's so impressive when, you talk about somebody and everybody you talk to has the same things to say. Someone who was just incredible, giving, attentive, giving his world to you when he's paying attention to you, always wanting to be better. One of the quotes that's making its way around, defining McCoy as good was never good enough, and truly somebody who wanted to be the best, and also just wanted to impact people. And he truly did. He impacted the lives of so many in such a positive way. And, it's an absolute tragic loss. And like I said, I think, I met McCoy back in 2014, and we'd worked a small handful of seminars together. And then the way seminar staff kind of rolls sometimes, your team grows and you're part of the world, and maybe you see some of those people you used to work with, used to travel a lot, maybe you don't, but you try and stay in touch. The nature of the job, the effort, it's a special group. You become very tight-knit very quickly. And obviously there are people who worked with him a whole lot more. But just wonderful, absolutely wonderful human being. And I think one of the reasons I just wanted to talk about this was also just in some small way I could to say thank you to McCoy and pay respect to him in my own way, and just kind of share this message when something like this happens. And I talked about this a little bit in the Love and Loss podcast. When it's death like this, tragedy like this, suicide, it's the worst reminder to reach out and tell somebody you love them, you care about them, you're thinking about them. But it is a powerful reminder of it. I mean, when I heard about this, the first thing I wanted to do was just call my friends and text my friends and tell them I cared about them, and that's it. It doesn't need any explanation. I think sometimes death is a brutal reminder of how important life is. And, with McCoy, his impact, his brightness in the world, you feel that tenfold. I was listening to, and I'm not going to share all the details of what was shared by colleagues and friends today in these remembrances, these, memorials that we had with the seminar staff teams. But, one thing that was mentioned, and if you go back and you listen to, McCoy started a podcast back in 2021. And this was kind of what led me to reach back out to him via Instagram. And because, we were worlds apart, I think at this time he had moved to Bali. We had kind of crossed paths a little bit here and there, stayed in touch, very lightly. But anyway, I was making a big change in my own life. And this was the end of May 2021. And I stumbled on his podcast, and, it's, I will say this, in context of his suicide and losing him, it's not an easy set of podcasts to listen to. And even if that wasn't the case, it's still not an easy set of podcasts to listen to if you've been down that road or dealt with anything that he discusses in there. But I listened to this one podcast, The Black Dog, and in it, I'll share the link to the show notes. And he says, trying my best to share what it feels like when the black dog depression has a firm grip of me. Debilitating, exhausting, and with a unique and unparalleled capacity to create chaos and mass confusion. And man, I listened to that podcast, and it was very much his own, but man, there was so much in it that was so easy to identify with. And if you've ever met that black dog and you've wrestled with it and dealt with it, you listen to that podcast, and it's like, I think everybody deals with these kinds of things in their own way, but you just kind of point out, you're like, yep, that's it. And so after I listened to this, I reached back out to him on Instagram, and, through there we kind of rekindled a little bit of a conversation, dialogue. And the other thing that loss like this does is, man, it makes you realize how much even small interactions with somebody can affect you, especially somebody like McCoy. You go around all the people who talk to you, you look at all the comments, and they're all saying the same thing about somebody who cared, somebody who was bright, someone who carried the light, someone who always showed up, someone who cared so much about other people. It's crazy. But something else somebody, had said today is, in referencing his podcast and what they knew a little bit about his own personal struggles with PTSD and depression, was that he, in his own journey and struggle to move from the darkness, grasp the light, what was said about McCoy is that he was, when he did grasp onto that light, what he did most was shine it for other people. And it just kind of made me think about this idea of, like, you got to remember that the person who's in the lighthouse doesn't get the benefit of the light. They're shining it for everyone else, guiding them to safety. And it was just a reminder of what not to take for granted. And when possible, just check in. Say, hey, how you doing? Be kind. Talked about this before. Friend, mentor of mine, Brian Chantosh, so he says point at the light. There's a fair amount of negativity out there to point out, darkness to point out, but you can just do so much better by pointing at the light. And you don't always, there's a time for being defensive, and there's a time for protecting. But I think for most of us, fortunately, luckily, the lives we get to live, that is rare. And so when possible, be kind, say that one thing that you want to say, because you don't know if you're going to have the chance to say that again. And those are a lot of things on my mind with this. Someone else today said something so beautiful and soothing. I love the way it was phrased. And this person had essentially said that when someone interacts with you, they do so in a way that only they could do. And that is special and unique in of itself. And you're going to meet, you meet so many people in your life, and maybe the interaction is fleeting. It's not even a second. Maybe the interaction's a couple seconds. Maybe it's minutes. Maybe you get the great opportunity to get to know somebody who impacts you for months, years, decades. But, they said, whenever someone interacts with you, they do it in a way that only they could. And then from there, this person shared that in that way, whether they interact with us a little bit or a lot of it, they change us. We don't need to go into like how they change us for the better, for the worse, but even slight interactions, like they change us. That interaction sort of breaks off the piece of one person and passes it on to another, and maybe you to them. And man, the loss of somebody like McCoy like this is the worst way to be reminded of that. But at the same time, you have to, be sad in the grief, because it's there and it's real. If you've experienced the loss of someone like this in a way like this, in any way, if you're experiencing this loss of McCoy, but also it's, remembering what was that piece of interaction this person shared with you, and remembering, what is it that they did when they met you that impacted you and changed you. And I was reading back through a handful of DMs, and one of the other things McCoy started doing is at his gym, he was following the CrossFit affiliate programming, and we were chatting about that for a while and trading workouts here and there, and just chatting, once in a while about little ideas. And one of the things I was just noticing as I was going through the texts, the DMs, was just, how humble he always was, humble and grateful in every sentence. And you just, I had listened to that Black Dog podcast, and I had some familiarity of what, I had a glimpse of what he was encountering, even though he was out there smiling, laughing, serving others. I mean, I said a long time ago, I keep this fortune cookie paper in my pocket. It says, "Service is the rent we pay to be on earth." And I'll tell you, I feel like from, my interactions with him, listening to other people remember him, talk about him, McCoy paid that tenfold, paid it for everyone. And one of the other reasons I think it's just, good to give people the benefit of the doubt, say that nice thing rather than that mean thing or nothing at all. I should say that kind thing rather than that mean thing or nothing at all. As I'm recording this, I'm watching one of the tribute posts, and this is from CrossFit Choice in the UK, and the owners were very close friends with McCoy. In the video that they're showing, I'm sure some of you have seen this. It's taken 5 days before his passing, right after he had completed 25.1, and he's, there is not a shred of doubt in this man's eyes. He smiles ear to ear, looks strong, confident, happy, bright. 5 days before he took his own life, and you just, not saying you have to walk around and handle everybody with kid gloves, but man, there's never a reason not to reach out to somebody and tell them you care about them. And if they're giving you a genuine interaction There's never a reason not to give them a genuine interaction back. And this is the worst way to be reminded of that. But if that's a legacy he's transferred to others and they get to pay it forward, that's, I don't know. I want to say that's special, but not at that cost. So that's kind of where we ended up today. I feel, and as there were 2 sessions today that the seminar team put on to, remember McCoy and his life. And people told stories, and there was a morning session which I didn't attend, and I went to the evening session. It was amazing, and I didn't really expect to go, but I went. I'm very glad I did, and because it's hard to see people you care about hurt so much, but in the vein of talking with his son, and it's like, because you don't have the answers, listening to everyone talk about, well, what could I have done more of? What could I have done less of? Like, you don't have the answers. How do you intervene? Nobody, maybe people knew, but how do you know enough? But sometimes just being there side by side with somebody is so valuable. It's valuable for me. But as I was, we're listening to the it'd wrap up and people sharing their stories, honoring his life, just feeling a little sad, appropriately sad. And then I hear upstairs, Cassandra running around, fired up from the day. The dogs come inside. They're excited. It's windy outside. They're running around upstairs. She's laughing, giggling. I hear them sprinting down the stairs like bowling balls. And they didn't know I was on the call, and I wrapped up the call, and they're just zooming around the downstairs. The dogs are wrestling. Cassandra's chasing them, and it's just this tragic loss of life. And then all of a sudden I'm just like slapped in the face with this, a meteorite of life and happiness. And there's it was funny. They came bowling downstairs. I'm trying to wrap up this call and sit here and, feel a feeling and work through that. And it's like, they come downstairs and I'm like, I could be a little annoyed. They're interrupting my space. But man, they're not. They're just happy life, and they don't know any different. And I could get angry or frustrated and be like, hey, you guys don't know what I'm going through. And I'm not saying anyone who does feel that way right now that you shouldn't. But what I am saying is, like, it just, in light of everything, it just made me so much more grateful for those little things that are just these explosive moments of joy. And, something like this, unfortunately, tunes you into those things even more. It makes you pay more attention to them, which, man, I don't want to have things like this to make me pay more attention to the little beautiful things that life offers constantly. Don't need these huge events, grand gestures. It's just they're everywhere if you look for them. And one of the sadder things about this, or the ironic's not even the right word, is that something like this, loss of a beautiful human being like McCoy taking his own life causes you to take a closer look at your own and find more happiness. How can that be the case? But it did, man. I sit here and I think about, how impactful his life was on so many others, and how many opportunities I had to engage with him and maybe engage deeper and didn't. And, man, you sure as shit regret it in these moments, but I'm grateful for any moment we had together. Grateful we got to share some stories and some workouts. There's a workout that I think some of his closest friends and loved ones put together for him. I'll share that in the notes too. There's it's kind of like a GoFundMe, I think, something like that. That's not the name of the charity. It's I think it's called Just Giving, for his two sons that he leaves behind, 17 and 13, teenage boys that are going to now make their way through a very difficult part of their life. So the point of this was just to share. about these things because you don't know. And, the signs of these, you might be thinking somebody's handling it. And it's not obvious why these things happen, but I just wanted to pass on, do a little bit of part of passing on a story of a beautiful life and really incredible, beautiful human being. Like I said, it's like I'm sad. I'm sad to see my friends sad, like people I care about, even affected by this more. And I wish the best I wish peace for him. I wish peace for him wherever he is, man. I wish peace for you, and I wish peace for his family, and I wish peace for his boys. So much I do, and I'm just grateful today. This made me feel very grateful. I hope for a little while I can hold on to this idea of gratitude in the shadow of tragedy and continue to just feel the good parts and of life that are just everywhere. Like I said, you don't even always need grand gestures. And unfortunately, this is the reminder sometimes that takes, which really sucks. Because seminar team, the world, his family, his loved ones lost somebody truly amazing. So just McCoy, wherever you are, wish peace for you. Grateful that I was able to glean a little bit of your bright light in life, man. So that's really it. I'll throw the GoFundMe and the other little things in the show notes. So that's where we're at. And, grab somebody you care about, haven't talked to in a while, but, means a lot to you, impacted you, had they changed you, and even just a small way, big way. Reach out, tell them you love them, care about them, thinking about them. Anyway, more tomorrow. Thank you guys.